Okay, now we're going to finalize this thing by discussing the process of persuasion and the factors that they impacting this process, especially who or the source of the persuasive advertisement is, what is the message, so what they're telling us, and most important, who is the audience to whom they're talking, and of course how relevant this is to them and all the rest, and the channel of this communication, how they really are talking to us directly, indirectly, and we'll see that we're going to discuss also with something that's called the channel. Okay, how they show all this to us. So, for example, this ad is related to drink driving, and we have the scene and the accident and how deadly it is, and that could be a horrific accident on the side of the road, but this picture next to it shows that, okay, this is the reason, and the reason is drink driving, and probably next time some people should think that they need to give their keys to somebody else when they're drinking, and this is the message they're passing through. So something goes to the central and something to the peripheral. This can go to this message can go to the mother, the children, and this goes to the other audience, the drinker. So we're going to discuss all this and how important these all are to persuading, because we need to understand that the persuasion has specific methods, specific ways. Okay, let's say that you're going to a lecture. Are you going to be persuaded by what they're going to say in a lecture, especially if it's a big place full of everyone? Well, why? Because they have the authority, because they're well-known experts. That's why we want to hear them. That's why we go there, to see what they need to say to us. So I want you to remember that when we're talking about source, we're talking about changing attitudes, but depending on the communicator. So who is the communicator? The source, the person who conveys the message. The more favorably we see or view the source, the more likely is that we are going to see the message more favorably. So we don't care actually what they say, okay? We care for who is saying that. So if I have an expert, a doctor, talking about plague, I will be persuaded. Or a beautiful communicator, or an expert doctor or lawyer will persuade me more. So attractiveness, there's no need to be physical. Attractive to us because he's the expert, okay? So I want you to think, is the attractive communicator more effective to get us to change our minds compared to the unattractive one? I want you to think that, and I'm going to show you examples in the class. So the idea is, though, that the effectiveness of the source is determined by other factors like credibility, trustworthiness, expertise, and likability Likability can substitute attractiveness. If I like somebody, it can be the monster, and I still it's attractive to me. So I want you to remember that experts and trustworthy people are regarded as the more credible. Also, talking quickly increases the trustworthiness because we seem to be more trustworthy or more knowledgeable. And attractive people are better at changing our attitudes more. So I want you to remember that people are likely to change their attitudes if the message comes from an expert. Okay, we discussed that. If the communicator has little credibility, we're not going to be persuaded. Also, I want to understand something like this. Does the repeated exposure to a particular object changing the attitudes towards them? Okay. Is it? Probably it is. I want you to remember, if you remember Jane Fonda or the L'Oreal face or the anti-cancer foundation, the quit smoking, things are coming to you, okay? Or Beyonce, the current Pepsi girl, Michael Jackson, the former Pepsi man. Expert opinions, actually scenes of crash, they will make us be more influenced. So in the process of persuasion, I want you to understand that we are really careful who is the source, what is the message, what means they use, so what's the channel to persuade us, how they try to persuade us, and whom, the audience, who is the one they're going to persuade. And I'm going to describe to you later the one that's called the Yale communication model. Okay, this is the Yale communication model. But I'm going to give you examples in ads later, so that everybody is using that. It's called Yale communication model because it was developed by the, I think it was the advertisement team at the business school at Yale, which is very famous for the job they do in advertising. So when we talk about who, the source has to be credible, has to have status, expertise, we said, power, trustworthiness, likability, speaking very quickly, looks similar to us, likable and attractive is very, very, very important. Persuasion tends to be more successful when the source has a high credibility status. Okay? People convey their expertise by mentioning degrees, training, experiences. Okay? Then the audience accepts the message from the trustworthy source. Likability and physical attractiveness can make persuasion more effective. We understand that, as it's more positive to remember. This is why when they advertise cars, they have beautiful girls. And if they're naked, even better. We respond better to sources we see a similarity with, and some way they're relevant to the issue at hand. So some people say, oh, I know your problem, I have exactly the same problem, and they ask mums to be there washing their children's dirty clothes. Again, we said the faster the person, the source talks, the people trust it more what they say because he thinks that sounds more credible, more knowledgeable. Okay. The message. I want you to remember that the message is also very important because for the message to be effective, it needs to evoke emotions. For example, sometimes fear, sometimes logic, is not so strong as the emotion. So the message has to evoke emotions or the strong processing for the central root. Okay, those who are thinking logically, they are not needing the emotional component. They need the logical component to be activated. The message, therefore, can include statistics when we're talking to somebody's logic, or they can talk to pictures and stories and to arouse the fear. Also, they can give good feelings and make the message convincing. And the good feeling can become through the picture or through the logic. You have good feeling that if I do this, I will save my health. Also, it's very important to understand that negative emotions are also effective. This is why in the smoking and in the drink driving, terrorism, we use fear. And the message, or they use fear. The message is more effective when people don't think that they have been tricked. So it's better when we don't give one-sided argument. Okay, so they hear one and the other, but the other is not as well expressed or as well presented. So we are persuaded for the one. Also, when the message is repeated all the time, that means that we are exposed to this all the time. We are exposed, or it's a novelty, it's a new thing. Repetition is very important because it sticks, becomes a more consistent memory. I want you also to remember that the message that evoke the strongest emotion have the high impact. To revise this, fear factor is the best. Fear pills and work the most. All the fear pills work the most when the consequences described are very or fairly probable if the advice is not followed. For example, if you drink and drive, statistics say that you will have an accident. That's it. So it's fairly probable. Okay, and it registers more because it causes tension. So we have emotional impact and thinking. And cognitive dissonance could occur, which can make us think even more. When you mentioned that there are two sides to an issue, increases the credibility. Oh, they say, oh, this person is fair, presenting things. Okay. And for example, these ads where they say, okay, try this shampoo and try the other shampoo that it is against dandruff. Which one is the best? And of course, magically, the ones that are for dandruff having the best hair. This is a kind of advertisement. And stronger arguments with more expertise and statistics usually have more effect. So this is the idea. They use a source that it is credible, an expert, have the expertise, and they use the statistics to go for the logic. And if they bring some fear there, they have everything. And repeating statements, 3-4 times the same thing. This is the best food I ever had. It causes not only memory, it causes more intense register. And there are subliminal messages. Okay, they have limited effectiveness in persuasion, but if they come all the time there, okay, the subconscious ones, all the time there, we can be persuaded. Because the more exposure and repetition, the more likely to be remembered. Okay, now we're going to discuss the channel the channel factors is how we're going to present it. Are we going to present something in person, through the television, through Twitter, through advertising, through movies, audio tape, videotape, YouTube, Facebook? Now Facebook has ads. So the channel is the how they are conveyed, the ideas. And what is the time they aired? Are they AM or PM? Is it prime time? Why they call it prime time? I want you to understand that people who are coming to home after work and they're so tired from work and they relax in front of their TV, they are more receptive to any ad. This is prime time, up between 5 to 8. Some people are easier to persuade than others. That's another persuasion. That's the audience, and we're going to discuss the personality later. But I want you to remember that the audience is important, and the audience is important in many ways. But before we go to the audience, I want you to remember that sometimes when they try to persuade people more, they use direct contact. So they can advertise parts, but they have shows, and then the person who is advertising, like the famous Magic Johnson, is coming and signing some Adidas, and then you can buy this Adidas. So they have promotional, the people who are promoting something, they're coming on the event. For example, when they promote children movies and they advertise them, or Dora the Explorer, an actor dressed as Dora the Explorer comes over there, and the children are really living with their hero, because the direct contact is more persuasive. That's why the politicians go and shake the hands of individual people. And the continuous indirect methods becomes very continuous, very strong persuasion method. For example, I want you to remember that the product placement, just to have beer at the back of the movie, it doesn't cost much, and eventually it is a very, very powerful route to persuasion, especially for children. Video images are more persuasive than written media. Very important. One picture has 1,000 messages, and a complicated messages in written form is more effective if people have time to read and absorb the issue. This is why the politicians, when they want to have an impact, they write texts and they put them in a newspaper. I don't know if you remember when we learned that Holden is not going to stay in South Australia after the 2017. The Prime Minister wrote a message in the newspaper, a full page, so it was a complicated message in written form to go to most of the people. The last I want us to discuss is the audience, and of course the audience discusses the who is going to be addressed, to whom is the message going to be told to. So the features of the audience affect how persuasive an argument can be and how the attitude can change. The older generations have more conservative views. Okay, this is why the age is very important. Because they're conservative, they're more likely to have formal attitudes, and they're harder to change. The younger people on the other side have attitudes based on what other people have told them, and they're easier to change. As we said, people with low self-esteem, they are persuaded more easily, and how much you know on a topic, and how intelligent you are, how serious thought you have given. It's actually very important. Of course, children accept readily, without question, everything. And older people are not persuaded because they have more direct experience. And to the older people, we're going to use the central route of persuasion, where to the children we're going to use the peripheral. Arguments that are in conflict with one prior's attitudes are scrutinized longer than those that are consistent with the one prior's belief. So if you're telling me that chocolate is not good, I will scrutinize it. I will find all the arguments of the world to persuade you that chocolate is good. So people who, I want to remember also that people who have issue-relevant knowledge and tend to scrutinize arguments more carefully, and they resist persuasion. And the same with chocolate. The next one we're going to watch is a video. I don't have the video here, but it is how we are going to be persuaded. I want you to remember that you're going to see it I don't know if I'm likely to do it now, but you will be able to watch it. It's how the attitude is formed, and it's the same video I have shown earlier to the people in social psychology, and we're going to work on this again and again and again, because we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss again on the same video, that will be an exercise, that they were responding in a specific way. I want you to watch the video again and tell me what route, what the audience, how they are using all these persuasion methods to persuade the boy to go for Gatorade. And we're going to have some questions there. We're going to discuss this in the class, but then you have to answer all these questions. And very quickly I will go through this. 2013, 2012, 2011, 2010, 29, 28, 2009, 2008, 2007. There's every year question on this. Okay, central root, peripheral root, sources, factors affecting the persuasion method. So we need to be very well prepared. Okay, this is going to the Nearpod, and we are done.